All right, hate to break it to you folks, I really do, but you know, if you restrict prices artificially instead of letting the market set the prices, you know what you're going to wind up with? You're going to wind up with warped results. You're going to wind up with less innovation. I want to bring Avik into this conversation as well as Mr. Goodstein. Avik, break down here what she's trying to do, if you would. You know, she sets the price of drugs. How's that going to affect the pipeline, for example, of new drugs coming to the market?
Well, I have a piece in Forbes today that breaks down her plan. And basically, the key thing about this, well, there's 2 points I would make. The first is her plan would have no shot of passing Congress, whether it's a Republican Congress or even a Democratic Congress. The second point is it would actually make the problem worse. If you do something like restrict the ability of insurers to have co-pays for drug prices, you're only going to incentivize drug companies to charge even more for those drugs. So you're not actually solving the problem. The reason why drugs are so expensive, there's 2 problems. One, the FDA way overregulates the cost of developing new drugs. It costs on average about $2.8 billion to develop a new drug. Her plan has nothing to reform the FDA. The second point is that drug companies have a near monopoly in which the government basically says that everybody has to have insurance, everybody's insurance has to cover certain things, and so drug companies take advantage of that. You have to actually introduce the market into the system so that drug companies have to appeal to consumers with cost-effective medicines.
Rich, it sounds like more big government to me.
Yeah, I have to take issue, Trish, with your comment about her not liking capitalism. I think anybody who watches this network remembers that the single most robust capitalist market ever was under Bill Clinton in terms of job creation and GDP growth. So I don't think Hillary Clinton was a mere bystander during the 90s.
But he had some Republicans he had to get along with there. Over on Capitol Hill.
I will say the market's response says to me one thing. The market thinks that Hillary Clinton's going to be president. Because if it was anybody else making a comment like this, Bernie Sanders already has, nobody reacted when he, or I suspect any Republican, says anything about health care.
I see. So you take this as a bullish sign for your candidate.
Well,
the market is reacting to this negatively, meaning therefore they must think she's going to be president?
I will say one other thing. Remember, when Hillary Clinton ran health care in the 90s, it was not the greatest success, but it did set the table for the Affordable Care Act. And who was the biggest, among the biggest supporters of the Affordable Care Act? Pharma. The whole pharmaceutical industry were big supporters of President Obama and Obamacare. So
right, because they love the idea of the government paying their bills. They never have to worry. They just tell the government this is the price. The government can't figure its way out of a paper bag and says, okay, sure. I mean, there's no market forces at play.
They like the idea of having tens of millions of people who are now sick and uninsured be covered by insurance. That's not just humane. That happens to be good economics as well. I think that's probably what drove them more than anything else. And as far as some of these business about regulating,
over to you before we go here, but you know, bring some reality into the conversation as well.
Yeah, no, there's one thing that's important to realize is Hillary Clinton was not a bystander in the 1990s. She actually proposed basically blowing up the pharmaceutical industry. This trading today in the NASDAQ is nothing compared to what happened in the pharmaceutical sector in 1992 when she basically advocated wiping out the profits of the pharmaceutical industry. So we know what Hillary Clinton really wants to do, and that would actually destroy innovative medicines. That's what we do. If you really want to make healthcare better for people,
and that is the product, frankly, of socialism. We've seen it in Europe. We've seen it in France.